Hello and welcome to this course. This is PDE 5105, Curriculum Development and Instructional Design. The course instructor is Dr. Anu Olushola Adesanya. I will be assisting Dr. Adesanya in taking this course. I am Dr. Lukman Olushesi. By way of introduction, I am a certified American Heart Association Basic Life Support and Advanced Cardiovascular Life Support instructor. I'm also a faculty member of Angel and Eagle Global Rescue Services Training Center. And interestingly, I am also a graduate of the PDE that you are currently undertaking. In this module 1, we are going to be looking at the following topics: concept of curriculum, the scope of curriculum, and curriculum as a teaching plan. Now, what is a curriculum? If you said to me that curriculum is a subject that is taught in school, then you will have been right. If you said to me that curriculum is a word, is derived from a Latin word, currere, which means a race course, a runway, a track, you also would have been right. Now, what is the concept of curriculum? Curriculum is like a path that is taken to reach a particular goal. All right? An athlete will start at a point with a goal in mind to run the 100-meter race within the shortest possible time. If the goal is to make the 100-meter race in 15 seconds, that is, and all the activities, all the plannings, all the training that he does to attain that achievement, that is his own curriculum for that particular program. So, as far as education is concerned, a curriculum constitutes all activities that is undertaken by a learner to reach an educational goal. All activities, all plans, all materials, all experiences that are put together for a learner to attain a particular educational goal is what is referred to as a curriculum. What then do we mean by activities? As long as education is concerned, activities means both curricular and co-curricular activities. In other words, both academic and non-academic activities that are undertaken by a learner to achieve an educational goal is what is referred to as curricular and co-curricular activities. Now, what are curricular activities? All activities focusing on the cognitive domain, all activities that is directly associated with the learning process, the theories that you want to explain, the lectures, how you deliver the lectures, the practical demonstration of the processes, the assignments that you give, the tests that you give, the examinations that you give at the end of the class. All this constitutes academic activities, or in other words, curricular activities. All right, now you cannot focus on the curricular activities alone. You have to also include non-academic activities or co-curricular activities in order to achieve a comprehensive teaching and learning process, in order to achieve the complete learning or a complete teaching, because teaching or learning or education goes far beyond what is taught within the four walls of a classroom. It is also about how the individual is going to cope outside of the classroom. So you have activities like sporting activities, like membership of school clubs, cultural activities, and every other activities that takes place outside the school premises, constitutes the co-curricular activities. A combination of this is what is packed into an educational curriculum. I mentioned earlier that the word Currere means a track, a path, specific educational program offered by the educational institution. That is the path taken by an educational institution to deliver a specific educational program. All right? And according to Adesanya 2020, she says that a curriculum can be viewed as a tool in the hand of the artist. The artist here will be represented by the teacher who molds his material, that is the pupil, according to a laid down objective. All right? In his studio, the studio here will now be represented as a school. So you have a teacher using all his resources or her resources to mold a pupil to achieve his or her educational objective. That is a definition of a curriculum, right? Now, looking at a curriculum broadly, how can we define curriculum? Curriculum can be defined as the sum total of all the learning experiences and the intended learning outcomes that are offered to the learner within the confines of a school system. The sum total of learning experiences and, of course, the intending learning outcome. As we progress in this course, we will continue to talk about learning experiences. We will continue to talk about learning outcome, right? And now to your first assignment. You are going to define curriculum citing three different authors. Define curriculum citing three different authors. Now to the next unit in the module, the scope of curriculum. To understand the scope, we need to provide answers to the following questions. 1. What do pupils need in order to succeed in the society? What do young people, children need in order to succeed in the society? Secondly, what are the needs of the society itself? All right, the locality where these young people live and reside, the nation where these young people exist, and indeed, what are the needs of the world where these young persons find themselves? And thirdly, what are the essentials of the discipline that these young people may want to undertake? The scope of curriculum can be viewed in 4 parts: the goal, method, materials, and assessment. Every curriculum, every course, the first thing to consider is the objective of the lessons. What do you want the learners to achieve at the end of the learning process? What will they be able to now count from 1 to 100? Will they be able to define some concepts at the end of the lesson? Will they be able to list the number of whatever it is that you have included in the lesson? So the first thing you start with is to clearly state the lesson objective, which is here represented as the goal. Then, having written clearly your objective, which of course has to be SMART objectives, what method do you intend to use in order to achieve your goal? All right? If you provide answers to that, what materials are you going to use to execute the method that you have chosen, to deliver the lesson to the pupils? All right? What lesson, what instructional material are you going to use? Are you going to use a software? Are you going to use illustrations on cardboards? Are you going to use videos? Are you going to use pictures? You must decide that even before you go into the classrooms. All right? And lastly, you also want to clearly define how you assess the entire process. How will you know that you're actually the path you are taking to achieving your goal, you are still on track? You are not derailing. You are not going outside of the track. And this is very, very important. If you are going to Ibadan from Lagos, all right, no matter how fast you decide to travel, if you face Badagry, you will never get to Lagos, even if you are speeding at 180 kilometers per hour. You'll be going very fast, but you will never get to your destination. So at every step you take, you need to assess yourself. Oh, am I on track? The education objective, am I still on track to attaining these goals, this objective that I set at the beginning of the lesson? So you do formative assessments at the end of the entire lesson period or the entire semester or term. You do summative assessments. All these different kinds of assessments are things you do to measure, to keep your eye on the objective, to keep your eye on the goals of the lesson. All right? And it's a continuous process. It is a continuous process. As you can see, you begin with writing your goal, the objective of the lesson. You decide on the method and material to use, and at every point you want to assess yourself, assess the process to be sure that you are still on track, all right, to attaining the goal of the lesson. All right, so everything that goes into formulating your objective, deciding on the method, deciding on the materials, and the forms of assessments that you make constitutes the scope of curriculum. Now, the last item, that's the last unit of the module, is curriculum as a teaching plan. If you look at the diagram of scope of curriculum as well as teaching plan, you would observe that one is almost the mirror image of the other. When you talk about scope of curriculum, you talk about goal, method, material, and assessment, as explained earlier. However, if you also look at the teaching plan, you will observe that your teaching plan must necessarily commence with your lesson objectives, which has to be clear and stated in unambiguous terms. What do you want to achieve at the end of that particular lesson? All right. If you're talking about the respiratory system, for instance, the objective of this lesson is one, to define at the end of this lesson, learners should be able to one, define the respiratory system, two, describe aerobic respiration, three, describe anaerobic respiration, four, draw a well-labeled diagram of the respiratory system, and so on and so forth. Those are the lesson objectives. All right. Now, if you look at the curriculum too, it's like planning a lesson a lesson plan, a teaching plan on a very big scale. If it's a big scale at the level of a state, for instance, at the level of a nation, you call it curriculum. At the level of the classroom, you call it a teaching plan. And if you look at the components, they are basically the same. Having set your clear objectives, you want to talk about the content, all right? The detailed instruction, as well as the method they are going to adopt in order to pass these lessons across to the pupils, all right? Then you talk about implementation, which is also talking about how you're going to deliver these lessons. What materials are you going to use? What method are you going to use? All right. And of course, it ends with evaluation, which at the level of curriculum is the same as assessment. You want to ensure that you are not getting derailed. You are not leaving the track that will take you from the beginning, from your objective to achieving your aims and your goal. All right. So we look at curriculum as a teaching plan in a very big scale. It could be at the scale of local governments, at the scale of a state government or federal government, right? And of course, the teaching plan is to downgrade such scale to a level of a classroom, where the final implementation of the curriculum is going to necessarily take place, right? Now, having said that, let us now look at the summary of all that we have discussed. The curriculum, like we said, is like a path which a learner will take to achieve a set goal, a set objective. And it does not only stop at the formal teaching that takes place in a classroom, it also encompasses, aside formal teachings that take place in the classroom, we also have the informal that we describe as co-curricular activities, the sporting activities, the cultural displays. It talks about the society, all right? What is acceptable in the north, for instance, or what is acceptable in the southern part of Nigeria, may not be acceptable to the northern part of Nigeria. So in designing a curriculum, you also need to take the society where the curriculum is going to get implemented into cognizance. We have different types of curriculum, There are so many activities that is not directly taught in the classroom, which forms part of the hidden curriculum. The political climate of the society where you want to implement the curriculum is also important in influencing how the curriculum will eventually get implemented and also contribute to the success or otherwise of the curriculum implementation. The socials, the society where you want to implement this curriculum. For instance, if a classroom is situated near a motor park, there is a limit to the number of outdoor activities that you want to introduce the pupils to, as against if you have the school situated in a serene environment. All right, so all these experiences and considerations would constitute what goes into a curriculum. The lecture note for this module is going to be uploaded if it is not already uploaded, and I also expect you to read wider. Do not forget to submit your assignments, that is, to define curriculum citing 3 different authors. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you in Module 2.